Peasant Productions presents The Math of ESP, why it works even if you don't believe in it. Still playing around with the idea of Occupy ISS. These lifeboat shuttles that get you into space, that become work ships. Basically they're transportation taxis, whatever you need them to be once they're up in space. You refuel them with any kind of debris that you can literally grind up and throw into them there. But theoretically that's what you want. Okay, now like I say, the biggest thing you need to do is stop thinking along the lines of all the pieces are built down here on the planet, and all the bottles of water are produced down here on the planet, and all the food is produced down here on the planet, and then sent up to those few people that are hanging out in a tin can, basically trying to survive. No, we are moving up into space. We're going to live, we're going to create societies, we're going to create families and homes and factories and businesses and hotels and vacation resorts, you name it. Okay, it's all possible, it's all out there. Now, the rats thing, and I was trying to figure out how to explain this a little bit better about what this capsule is like here in the center. Now, first of all, like I say, in space, because you're building out there, because you're manufacturing the parts out there, it doesn't matter how big something gets. It doesn't matter how much bulk or like I said, this thing's going to be 300-400 meters across, bare minimum, just to have these arms far enough out so that you can be jetting. You don't want to be jetting back and hitting your asteroid. You want to be jetting out around past it, and and just pulling it forward. So this thing is going to be rather large diameter to begin with. This center capsule, okay. Now, while the control center for operating all of this stuff has to remain stationary, you don't want these contacts and stuff moving and twisting and pulling on the wires and stuff. The second half of your capsule there is more like an RV. You put whatever you want, however you want. Now, one of the first things I know I'm going to do for one of these rats is I'm going to put myself a whole nice big arboretum of plants and stuff to sit back and relax, because I like nature. I like being out in nature. So if I've got some little room that's out there in this this other part of this capsule, and it's just sitting there, you got a bunch of plants growing, whether it's zero gravity or partial gravity or centrifugal force gravity, because the thing's rotating, which you can do at that point. You can just you got this little hub here with a little O-ring system in it, and half of it spins and half of it doesn't, and it's 100% workable because we've already done it. Matter of fact, Elon Musk is using that type of an idea with what he's going to shoot over, multi-billion-dollar rocket that takes, I guess, like 4 or 5 people over to Mars, and then they get their hydrogen and refuel themselves, and they can make the journey back. These things, obviously, you don't have that problem. You just pour some sand in and keep going. Oh, hey, there's an asteroid, great. We needed a little bit to fill up, top off the tank. No problem, man. Just grab it and throw it, grind it down into sand, and it's, reactionary mass. But the thing is, you got all this stuff you can do. Well, I can build a whole entire, park for myself on one of these things, and it ain't going to matter. Even if that thing's a whole acre of land sitting out there, there's all opened up and got a nice big dome over it and all that kind of, so what? This thing's out in space. It's not necessary for it to ever land on any planet or moon. It goes out and it connects by a cable to the asteroids. So it never parks on an asteroid. It parks in orbit transit with that asteroid. Okay, that's what I say. These things are extremely useful. You have all of these asteroids that are literally coming into range of the shuttle system, the shuttle taxis, the shuttle workships that are right there in Earth orbit. Okay, so you have this. Those things, when they get out there, you can be adding stuff onto them. And again, like I say, you're out there, there's no friction. So it doesn't matter if you stick a couple of boxes on those wings out there, it's not going to do anything. If you tried to leave Earth's atmosphere Sure, it would definitely hamper your getting up, or it would definitely shred off, one of the two. And it would just crash the whole mess. But you're building in space. Everything you get from all these asteroids becomes usable material somewhere. And you are literally going down through these different myths. Okay? Prospectors, trappers, explorers, frontier guides, people. They have been throughout the history of human beings. These are people that have no problem, like me, being a lone wolf, walking out, having no, social. Oh, I'm just going to die if I don't make the party. Forget the party. I got work to do. Okay, that's me. I don't care about the people that want to socialize. You got a nice big space station to build. You can socialize and have all kinds of wonderful parties and whatever. Okay? But you got people like me that are going to go hop in these rats that, there might be one person, there might be 10 people on one of these things. And they're going to go out. And they're going to be cruising out there. They know they're going to be, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 weeks to get out to the asteroid belt. They know that once they find an asteroid, they don't know how long it's going to take to hook themselves up to it. But, they're probably, realistically, there's going to be another week or two of hard labor and working out there and doing stuff. And then you're going to start making the transit back. And you're going to come back a little slower than you went out, simply because you're dragging this big chunk of rock behind you, and because it's on a cable. Okay, you're not going to be just zipping around like you're in a little job. You have people that are going to realize the value of going out there and finding these asteroids that might be solid gold or solid mud or solid sand or a chunk of ice or a chunk of methane. Okay, methane is a stove cooking gas. You want to cook with gas in your planets and stuff, you're going to have methane converters from all of your sewer waste. You're going to have composters for all your vegetable waste that you throw out in the trash. You're going to recycle all of your plastics and metals and electronics and stuff like that. So you're going to be throwing very little out the door versus NASA, United States, throwaway society since President Reagan started running for office in like 79. But you have this whole situation where you can go out and do stuff, and you have been led to believe by your movies, by your governments, by your religions, that you must not try to do anything to help yourself. You must not try to save yourselves. You must wait for Superman. You must wait for Spider-Man. You must wait for Jesus. You must wait for the government to okay the fact that you need to cross the river before you can cross the river. Okay? That is what domination control trips are about. They want you to never make a decision. They want you to never do anything on your own. And they sure as heck would prefer that you use blind faith and you never picked up one of these books of any of these religions and started fact-checking it, not as a person that wants to be saved, but as an investigator. Okay? I read this book as a lawyer and as an investigative person, an investigative journalist. There's a big difference. I wasn't looking for one or two little lines to save my butt. I was looking to see why a particular piece of something was given to me by a God, what it had to do with the rest of this, and then I went ahead, and because I had to read an awful lot of this to fully understand what I was being stuck up against, I went ahead and checked reality. And that's why I said, when you stop and you think about Moses taking all the slave labor out of Egypt, and no riots happened, Egypt didn't fall when the populace of Egypt found out that their pharaohs weren't gods, and therefore they were not worshiping a true God. The real true God got up and left. Okay? Yeah. That's why I say, something as simple as starting with Genesis in here with Moses and Adam and Eve and stuff like that. It is so easy to see the illogics of what they say, how they say it, and they are constantly pushing, you have to have blind faith, you accept this book or you don't. Yet there's what, 10, 15, 20, 1,000 versions of this, whether you're Protestant or whatever. They don't change much in the book, but they sure change the way they tell the story. They like to shift around depending on whose profit margin they're working for. But the thing is that you learn to think and you pick up one of those. It's going to make a difference. The same thing goes with what I'm doing here. Like I said, it's very easy to go out and look at how this all is there in your atmosphere, in your land, in your water. Your oceans are constantly coming back with report after report of fishing boats. Half of what they got last year in catch. There's no new fish. The fish are dying off. The whales are dying off. The turtles are dying off. The dolphins are dying off, okay? Absolutely everything in your oceans is dying. Gee, maybe there's a problem with the oceans. Your land, everything is polluted. All the water around the world that should be fresh and drinkable is polluted to the point where everybody is literally either getting some kind of cancer, some kind of a birth defect, or dropping dead. Okay? You don't have any choice. In what is there, you cannot take all of that stuff out on any large size, so you're stuck. And your governments are literally telling you not to pay attention to that. They're totally refusing to look at this and let you know that you're about to be hit by stuff. Because stop and think about this medical thing over here. How many times now in the past little while we've been hearing about modern science doesn't have any answer for this new bacteria, this new virus, this new flesh-eating virus, this new flesh-eating bacteria, this new, whatever, okay? Yeah, they are literally running against their own, as I said, their own demon. They created the problem, and they are now dealing with it, okay? So like I say, you want to go out and build yourself a rat or a space station or a moon base or something like that. Start thinking in the idea that you're going to have the factories out there, the manufacturing out there, the materials out there, the energy to do all the material and manufacturing and everything going on. You're going to want to have food, so growing plants is going to be quite standard, even on this. If I'm going to be traveling for 6 months, 8 months, and I've got room to have myself a little place where I can go get some fresh tomatoes and some fresh green, peppers and some chili relleno peppers and whatever, and lettuce and spinach and all this stuff. Why would I not have it? It's not going to hurt the ship. It's made to drag something that big. It sure ain't going to have any problem with dragging along its own little gardens. So that's why I say you stop and look at the reality of actually building in space. And it makes a whole big difference in the idea of the government telling you, oh, we have to make everything here, so we can only make the nut this big when it should be that big so that it'll hold. Yeah. So that's why I say stop and look at some of the myths that are put before you. Stop and look at the stuff that you are taught to not think about the logics of survival. Stop and think about the fact that everything I'm showing you so far totally supports the idea that you'll have product to sell either to other people in space or be selling to somebody on planet Earth whose crops have failed, whose water is polluted, whose land is lost. How many of you island nations out there would like to have yourself a chance to get up there and build yourself a space station and get yourselves and your culture and as much as you can of the plants and stuff that were part of your life and your heritage? Go up there and build your own satellite. Yeah. The New Zealand satellite, the Australian satellite, the Caledonia satellite, the Micronesia Java, the Micronesia, Papua New Guinea. They're all possible. And each one can be its own culture. Each one can have its own food. They can share and mix and interrelate, and there's not an issue. So that's why I say you need to stop listening to the fantasies of governments and religions that want to control you, and you need to start using your own brain to think about what is necessary and what is real about the idea of getting there we are, out in space and being able to produce viable product to sell and create an economy. Makes a difference.